service to self versus service to others, I feel that there's a misunderstanding that I've run into a lot where people take service to others as self-sacrifice,
Mm,
and that service to self is something that's just purely evil and selfish.
mm-hmm,
Whereas if you're in service to others at the detriment and the cost of yourself, you're not truly in aligned service to anybody because you're not being able to show up 100%.
mm,
Whereas when you give yourself what you need, and then in order to
mm.
be able to show up in service, then you're able to fully show up. What up, Jay?
What up,
How's it going?
Jaguar? How you feeling, brother?
A little silly, a
Yeah,
little tired.
I like that.
Good.
I like that.
Work was not super tough. It was one of those days where there was a lot to do at the beginning, and then nothing to do in the middle, and then a lot to do at the very end.
Mm,
And then, so by the time I was done, I was like, I want to work out. I
yeah,
want to take the dogs to the
yeah.
park. And then I had to go pick up my car from the shop. And I was like, oh man, by the time I got back from the shop, I don't have much time. So I chose to take the dogs to the park rather than work out.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I got back and I made it a little bit of food in the time that I had. And now we're here.
I like it, bro. I like it, man. Yeah, I was in the city. I had some really good uh Asian food today. Some restaurant with some coworkers and just catching up on life, on spiritual topics, and which was really cool. I've been finding people in the corporate space that understand astrology, so they're explaining astrology to me and explaining to me what's your rising, your moon, and there's one more, your big three. And I thought that was so
Your sun, moon, and rising.
yes, yes, sun, moon, and rising. So I have all that. I still can't tell you exactly which one is which, but it was
That's
super.
exactly what I was about to ask.
I mean, they were able to explain, this one of my friends, she was able to explain to me why that on and off 4-year relationship was with someone who was a Pisces, and she was like, "Yeah, no, Aquarius, we love Pisces, but they don't love us back." And without her knowing any details, she was able to describe, that aspect of the relationship. And I thought that was so interesting because like he's an Aquarius as well. It's like I love Pisces too, and because they help us bring out that emotional side and all these different aspects of ourselves, but maybe they don't feel as connected or something like that. And they explained some of the challenges that I had and that connection with this person. And I thought that was so fascinating. And we were talking about how there's people in business billionaires in business that will only do business by astrology. And my other friend, she was like, I worked with, I met this billionaire in real life, and he's like, yeah, I only do business according to astrology. And so she met someone in real life who followed that, and I just think that is so fascinating. I'm not there yet, but I think it's something for me to strive for because I see a lot of truth in it.
I heard someone on a podcast, I believe, a little while back saying how millionaires follow business trends
Mm-hmm.
and billionaires follow astrology.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'd heard that before, and it was something that like I didn't find it to be like wild. I was just kind of like, huh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And so I started thinking about it a little bit more, but I haven't really done like a good deep dive
Mm-hmm.
into it just yet. Bits and pieces about my big three. And then Luna, or our friend Luna, she did like a deeper dive on my chart. I think it was like based on like the Greek version, if I remember
Mm-hmm.
right. And
Mm-hmm.
she did a pretty deep dive, and I have a recording of it. I need to go back and listen to it more. But it was really cool. And it was also really confronting with a lot of things that like I was dealing with because it was right there at the coming to the end of like the bullshit phase with my ex-girlfriend. We had been in the bullshit phase for a few months. I think we had
Yeah.
a couple of months left. And like I was still very much wanting to hold on and like very much like still wanting it to happen. And she looked at bits and pieces on my chart and yeah. And she was like, what's her signs? This, and this. And she was like, ah, yeah, okay. So it makes perfect sense why the connection is incredible, why this aspect is
Mm-hmm.
incredible, why this aspect is incredible. But with this and this and this, it's just gonna be like keeping this like real fun and real shit. And real fun and real shit. And real fun
Mm-hmm.
and real shit. And
Mm-hmm.
I I don't want that to be it. I really didn't want it to be. Um And I've always seen astrology as this thing where it's something to understand more about yourself on a deeper level, to understand patterns, to
Mhm,
inform yourself
mhm,
of different ways you could be, or
percent,
just patterns of way people are, who
100%.
are born like in your area and like what like was going on,
Yeah, yeah,
but not something that cages you to
yes,
anything. Like
yeah,
you will be this way your entire life. Like, no, I don't think so at all. Like
yeah,
I'm a Gemini, sun and moon. And so people for such a long time, oh, you're a Gemini, so you're two-faced. At one point in my life, that was true. And now it's very much I understand the complexities of me and I understand the complexities of everyone, because everyone has these pieces of their personality that they're okay with showing and pieces of their personality they're not okay with showing.
mhm,
And what I found, the trend with Geminis tends to be okay with showing both sides,
mhm,
and people not being able to understand that being
mhm,
really jarring. And then when it's immature, the person will flip flop back and forth without any understanding of how it's affecting other people with that almost seeming turbulence. Whereas to them, they're just being in their moods, or they're being following how they feel.
yeah,
Whereas for people who don't do that, they like hold back that one side. They're very intentional and like, "Oh, I must show up this way, because if I don't show up this way, people are gonna think about me like this. And if I don't do this, and people are gonna see me like that." And so as I've gotten older and matured a little bit more, I've started to understand that, oh, okay, so people are thrown off by that switch because they're so used to people presenting in some particular way. Whatever mask that they feel is appropriate, this is the way that they see me. And whereas a Gemini is much more okay with just boop, 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 being kind of present with what's in that internal state.
mm.
As I've gotten more mature, I've understand how to make that switch honest and less jarring for other people.
I like that. Yeah, so fun so we talk about this concept of mature versus immature forms of these astrological or zodiac signs, and the idea was that every astrological sign, Aquarius, Gemini, Taurus, whatever, is good in its mature form, but there's light and dark to everything, and but it's about being able to be in that mature form, but also recognizing when we're being immature, and also being aware of some of the negatives or side effects of what our sign can be because they're pretty accurate. For me, Aquarius, I think one of the things that we can sometimes seem attached and feeling like we don't really care when someone might want to feel that compassion. And there's times I know with myself, for example, for me, death is something that I deal with very well from the standpoint of if my father passed away, I think I was sad for a week because my belief on death is that it's just a continuation of life. So I never really got that sad on it. I gave myself Reiki for an hour. And then after that hour of Reiki, I went from feeling almost depressed to feeling more focused than I've ever felt in my entire life. And that was very empowering for me. But somebody else might be like, well, you were a week past and you were over it. Is that is that psychopathic? Is that like some type of something? Is there something wrong with you? But I honestly felt that I just was at peace with this idea of death because I only believe there's only more life, right? And it's only a transition. But I also think that has to do with my sign of how can I explain it?
What's an air sign? Like
So
Gemini as well.
yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, so I thought you said water because sometimes people confuse Aquarius with water because of aqua, but yes, definitely an air sign. And yes, I can seem detached. I know with my mother, for example, there's times where I remind her of my father, who's also an Aquarius, and where I would seem kind of cold, but it's not that like yes, there can be a level of coldness to it, but I think it's just me not wanting to process maybe certain aspects of myself. And maybe I'm getting a little bit outside of what it is to the traits of my sign versus just something, just not wanting to face myself, which is something that also is kind of universal.
I don't think so. Because what, at least what my understanding
Yeah.
is that like, everything you've just talked about and mentioned all goes in line with attributes of air signs.
Mm,
Air sign, I understand them pretty well because I had to understand a lot of similarities
yeah.
with that detachment that you were talking about
Yeah.
earlier. I mean, what is the wind? The wind flows and travels
True.
and affects everything, but is detached from everything.
100%.
And so, in a lot of us, air signs, it lends towards this very, I don't want to deal with this kind of very flightiness that a lot of people see, like you were saying, with
Yeah.
that immature form. So
Mm,
like, I want to deal with this.
mm,
I'd rather run away. Oh, there's something more interesting over there. Those kind of things. Whereas the mature form, it allows you to handle and deal with these things
mm,
and
mm,
continue on with this light and effervescent way of being. So when my mom's dad died when I was 15, I was bummed about it for a very long time and I didn't really want to touch it. And I learned not too long ago that that was prolonged grief. Prolonged grief, I think it's called. Um, and then when my father's dad died not long ago, it was when I was with this ex-girlfriend, and we would go on mushroom journeys together. And when I came back, I asked her, "Hey, are you free tonight? I want to do a mushroom journey and grieve this and be on the other side of it, or at least
mhm,
get what I need from this to be able to move forward." Because there was a lot around what happened right when he died.
mhm.
And so that's what I did. I stood and I faced it so that way then I could understand it and move forward without having this sheer heaviness.
Yeah.
Because once I finally got mature, I understood, okay, I still have to face it and do the thing so that I can then be in that freedom still or again.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, it's and which can you just remind me of your sign one more time? Did you say Gemini? Damn, bro.
Mhm. So I mean, you're getting at this immaturity of being detached and not wanting to deal with things or cold, rather. And I think that that's a common trait amongst their signs when left immature
Mm,
is that detached and like, I don't really care about this. And
yeah,
it
yeah.
can be a persistent problem, which is why, to me, why I say that I think it's a amazing way of getting to know yourself and knowing like patterns. And, but these are things that I should probably start understanding so that way I can learn from them.
Yes, agreed.
But I don't think it's a thing that you're an air sign, therefore you are doomed to only ever be flighty
Mhm,
and
mhm.
disconnected and not give a shit.
It's a baseline. It gives you an idea of the direction to go in. If you're trying all these different things, it gives you a high probability or high likelihood of where you'll have success, and also will show you where you may face some downfalls. I had this my astrologer. He's been doing astrology for decades. He does 30 different types of astrology. And I've
Wow.
done three with him. I've done one on astrolocation, which
You
is
said
where
30? Like 30? He does 30?
30 different types of astrology readings. He is solid. Like he does Greek astrology, like African astrology, Nordic astrology, all different types of astrology, and he'll blend it all together and he'll give you the perspective from all these different types of astrology. And when I tell you this man has been super accurate on every single one, the price is he's not cheap, but it's worth every cent. And I've got them recorded, and I've gone back and looked at some of my notes on a few, and they've been very, very eye-opening around my patterns. So he did one. My first one was on my general purpose in life. No, sorry, was on my calling in life. I didn't want to go to him for a general reading. He does general readings as well. Maybe we can put his information in the notes section of this episode. But I did one on my purpose. It was great, man. I gave him, right, my day, like the date and time that I was born. So the specific time I was born, my date of birth, where I was born, right, the city that I was born in, all that stuff, and that's all he needed, right. And so for my purpose in life, he kind of went, through your rising, your moon, all that different stuff and what it means. But it all pointed back to doing advanced healing. He was, hey man, I have a sense that, you're really meant to do healing. I explained to him that my name, Jason, actually means healing. When I was two, my uncle gave me a plaque that said Jason healing, and it described it. And he's telling me, like, yeah, man, you're meant to do advanced healing. You're not meant to be in corporate America, even though I currently am. He's whatever your offering is going to be around healing, it's going to be something that you make it up. You kind of learn as you go, and it's going to be something that's pretty unique. And I can super relate to that just from picking up different forms of Reiki and sound healing and understanding prayer and different ritualistic things to raise vibration and to kind of create clarity in life. So all these things that he was saying was tracking, and he said, Jason, I could have told you that the moment you were born. And I thought that was so fascinating because these are some of the stuff I've only developed within the last 5 or 6 years. But he said I could have told you that in the moment that you were born. That was one. The other one was on astrolocation, which is what areas in the world would you most flourish and why? And what areas you want to stay away from? So I've always felt called to Sedona, Arizona. I went there in 2020. We did a group trip out there, which was amazing, and I just loved it. I was happy for no apparent reason. I got off the plane in Arizona in Phoenix. I was just super happy. I don't know if you've ever been there, but I loved it there. I went to
Right.
Sedona. I felt, man, it's definitely a worthwhile trip. I know Kevin does a trip out there every year. We went to
Yeah.
Sedona. I just, we did a UFO tour in Sedona. I saw these unidentified flying objects. I was in heaven. So many crystals. There's a red mountains, right? And so there was one other place other than the Northeast. So there was two places I was meant to live. One was Northeast, where I currently live now. I live in New Jersey, right? And he's outside of the Northeast, there's only one other area in the US that would be great for you to live in, and that would be Arizona, specifically Sedona. And he does it. There's a moon sign, there's like all these other houses and stuff. I don't understand all of it. But if I were to live south of Phoenix, that would have not have been good for me. It was specifically the city of Sedona, that area. But if I would have lived in a different part of Arizona, then I might have. So because I'm a healer, there are some darker aspects of things that I would have experienced that would have been actually good. If I wasn't a healer, he would normally say, don't go there because that could be, some negative things that you don't need to deal with, right? But for me being a healer, it would actually help to maybe in some ways accelerate my gifts. And then if I were to move to Sedona, at the time I was single, he was saying you actually might meet a love interest there if you move there, and your profession, you'll grow spiritually, but also you may not grow as much professionally spiritually because there's so much like there's so many people that do this out there in Sedona. And he did other places around the world. So some other places were Australia, like I think Melbourne and another big city in Australia that's not coming to me right now. A couple places
Sydney.
in Africa. What would you say, Sydney?
Sydney.
What? Not Sydney. There's another one. There's a third one. Perth. And was it Perth? Was it Perth? It's not coming to me right now, but I have it all written down. There was a
I'm
couple.
not that good with Australian city names.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Melbourne and Sydney were my two.
mm, there's a couple countries in Africa. South Africa would be very good for me for healing. Me doing a trip out to Tibet. To Tibet would be very healing for me, and a great place for me to grow and thrive. Maybe not live, but definitely do a trip out to Tibet. So there's a couple of things that were so eye opening, man, and a lot of it resonated, right? And we did one on relationships as well, just from him knowing again date, time of birth, where I was born. He was able to describe not only my relationship challenges and where I was good at, but also he was able to describe how my parents raised me and where some of my mother and father wounds were. Like it was that accurate. And it's like, damn, we literally live in a matrix where we can understand some of the patterns and themes and things that we're going to have to face. Yes, there's a spiritual aspect to what he does, but this is more the mathematical, logical, scientific side of spirituality, right? Whereas like the Reiki and stuff and the readings and the channeling is more the intuitive stuff. But he's able to give me that aspect of it and then also give me some ideas of how to overcome and shift those patterns, which I thought was so cool.
It reminded me of this Instagram post that I saw just the other day about how people have no problem believing in Wi-Fi and
Mhm.
Bluetooth and radio waves and these things that we've developed that do invisible energies,
Mm,
but there's a really strong resistance to energy when it comes to prayer,
mm.
spirituality, anything within this, I don't want to say world, but this ethos? Is
Dimension,
ethos the right
ethos?
word? Yeah, well, within this vein.
Mm.
Because I don't wanna say world because it's all the same world. We're all
Yeah.
still living within this same world. For me, the moment that I learned that thought has measurable weight, my entire viewpoint on prayer, energy, everything shifted in a quick moment, and it was reading the Da Vinci Code series. I don't remember which of the 3 books it's in, but in one of those books, it talks about how thought has weight. And these are fictional books, but they're all based on true scientific fact and then historical evidence and archaeological evidence. So they create a fictional narrative to be able to talk about all of these different things. And it's
Mm,
beautifully done.
mm,
And when I learned that thought has weight,
mhm,
I sat there for a moment. I was listening to it on an audiobook and I just paused it and I sat there. And this is the very beginning of me finally trying to understand things beyond myself
Mm,
again. So I'd grown up in the church, pseudo Southern Baptist, kind of independent. And then I turned away from it hardcore, and I was right next to atheist, where I didn't believe there was nothing beyond me, but I didn't know what. And then I finally started coming into everything alive is God. And then as I've continued to study and stuff, that kind of has been reinforced in a lot of ways. It's that the all is within all of us, just so much more and greater than us. But I'm going to digress on that. This was a beginning of me seeing all of the stuff that my parents have been doing, the prayer, that like everyone within all of these religions and spirituality, it's all doing the same thing. You got one person praying for someone. You have this force coming from your mind
mm,
going to that other person.
mm,
And then you have 10 people praying for this one person. You X that force going towards this other person to do this thing. And when
mm,
that other person believes that it is going to work, that the prayer is going to be the facilitation of the healing, it allows for the activation of the placebo effect within your mind to allow your body to heal. And so
mm,
you have all of these people energetically sending this information of, "Oh, I believe you can heal. I'm here with you healing." And energetically, you're receiving this, "Hey, you can do it. I believe in you. Do the thing," to back up your own belief of, "I can." Boom.
mm,
Healings are done and done and done.
yeah.
And that's the way that I've come to understand it, because then I listened to this audiobook, You Are the Placebo.
Mhm.
It was, man, everybody listening to this who knows him immediately, Joe Dispenza.
Yes, yes, yes.
When I read this audiobook, You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and in that he's talking about all of these people going into meditation and healing themselves from all kinds of things by activating the placebo effect. And he goes into massive detail about it. And they do brain scans before, during, after, and months and weeks after continuing meditation, not continuing meditation, all of these variants to show that, yeah, it's working.
Mm,
The combo of those two things blew my mind. I
mhm,
went from
mhm,
astrology is fun but kind of bullshit to I don't know or understand anything. So
mm,
okay, let me hear and try to understand more.
mhm. Man, I love that, man, and appreciate you tying it back into astrology. I wanted to touch on so a couple things. So this is without me being able to test this, but you were talking about when one person prays versus when 10 people pray. So my understanding is that it actually, like, say if you have 2 people praying, it's almost like having 10 people pray. If you have 10 people praying, it could be like 100 people praying. Now, I'm saying that as a conceptual understanding versus having actually directly experienced it. But I say that because I think as we pray in groups, the power of the healing and the manifestation increases exponentially, not necessarily just like multiplies, but it's exponential type of thing. Unless that's the same thing. I don't think so. But and that's something too that I actually would love to have more experience with is this idea of group prayer, planetary healing. How much more powerful is it? I wonder if we can have a group of us, right, that share the same faith, and we can take turns praying for each other in a group and seeing what's the effect when just one person prays. What's the effect when 5 or 10 people pray? How much more do we feel it? And just play with that a little bit because I think the more we can make it scientific and practical to the degree that we can, I think the more digestible it is for someone who may have an interest but not fully understand the space because we kind of grounded the information more and anchored it more into the earth into like ways that people can understand. It's more substantial. You know what I'm saying? Versus
Yeah,
something that's objective.
studyable,
Yeah,
very high.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, objective, yeah, rather than subjective. And
Yes.
yeah, and you said something that I don't think you view these things in a separation kind of way, but you said of the same faith.
Mm,
And that clicked this little thing in my head that I didn't believe the same things as my parents did.
mm-hmm,
But once I learned that thing about prayer, my mom, the next time I saw my mom, she said, "Oh, I'm praying for you." And then she quickly went, "Oh, well, I mean, I don't want to start like any kind of conversation because I used to start bad arguments with my
mm,
parents. And if you're listening to this, sorry. I know I said this to them before, but again, sorry, because I used to be an asshole about it. And I was like, no, thank you. Please do. do the thing. I appreciate it because I
Mm,
had finally understood that, like, yeah, no, it has weight to it. And to me, I really wish that people of faith, of these monotheistic faiths, could let go of the I'm right and everyone else is the devil
mhm.
kind of mindset,
Yeah.
because then I believe that we all would be praying together. Just
1000%.
people praying together. I
Yep.
don't care if you call the all, God,
Mhm.
Allah,
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm. Yep.
Do
Yep.
your thing. To me, the importance is living out of love to the greatest expression of yourself, the way that like Kevin teaches it. I love the phrasing that he uses because we are all that beautiful expression of the all, that beautiful expression of God. We are this piece that we were given to do
Sure.
with. Who am I to say that your way of living is wrong and my way
Mhm.
of living is right? I'm just going to do the best that I can for me. And so let's pray and be together in this whole thing, whether you're praying to Shiva or you're praying to Allah, to me at least. And I know that like I've had conversations with people who are deep devotees of one religion or another. Like I had a conversation with a Hare Krishna woman, and she just rolled her eyes through the back of her head, and she was
Mm.
just like, "That's just what everyone says when they don't really know what they're talking about." And I'm
Mm.
like, and
Mm.
that's kind of what I've always heard from people who are deeply into a singular
Yeah.
religion,
Yeah.
who are very much into, who are very much judgmental of everybody else,
Mm.
stuck in that I'm right, you're all wrong kind of mindset.
Mm. Yeah.
Because I'm not trying to say I am right. This is just the way I see it because believe that the most important part.
I want to touch on this idea of faith in one religion versus another. Because when I say faith, when I talk about people that share my faith, when I say faith, it goes beyond any religion. It goes beyond any dogma. It goes beyond any lines. It goes beyond what society says is right or wrong. It goes into virtue. It goes into oneness. It goes into all these things. And we talked about this in other podcasts, but to me, what faith, what being a godly person is, right, is someone who is virtuous, someone who has faith, integrity, honesty, courage, confidence, leadership, who's someone who's creative, who can create, like emulating the creator, even though I am not the creator of all life. But my point is, these are things that go beyond any religion, any certain dogma, any man-made rules. Is faith itself, right? And so these are the things I want to share with people. The idea of multidimensionality, the idea of past lives, the idea of ascension. It goes beyond any one religion. And so if you understand the concept of ascended masters come from all different religions. Jesus, my belief is that Yeshua was a highly, highly, highly advanced soul who was an ascended master. There's people like Cthulhu. There's Saint Germain, who in one of his lifetimes may have been actually the father of Jesus. There's oh my gosh, there's Lord Lanto. There's Buddha. There's Cthulhu. There's El Moria. El Moria. If you heard the story of King Arthur, I believe that that King Arthur was a real person, and that one of El Moria's lies was as King Arthur. There's Merlin. I believe that that was actually an incarnation of Saint Germain. Some people believe that Merlin is his own entity. I believe that one of his incarnations was as Saint Germain. And, I'm sorry, was as Merlin, and also another incarnation was him as Joseph, the father of Yeshua or Jesus. There's Mother Mary, another ascended master. There's Mary Magdalene, who worked, in my belief, worked side by side with Yeshua, with Jesus. And all these ascended masters, all these beings, I've been reading about them, not just reading about them, been connecting directly with their consciousness. And so my faith goes beyond text and words. It goes through direct contact, through emotion and through feeling. And what's happening when I read about these people is that, for example, Mother Mary helps me to work on and heal my mother wound. So when I connect with Mother Mary, what's happening is she's helping me to see my mother from another perspective, see her from that child who maybe she wasn't held right or loved right, and just have more compassion for my mother, so that when my mother calls me, instead of me not picking up the phone, I just want to show compassion to my mother, right? That's an example of what Mary helps me to connect with. There's the most recent study master that I connected with. His name is Afra. Afra was the first person from the continent of Africa to ascend. So his first incarnation, or maybe one of the first times he ascended or reached enlightenment was 500,000 years ago. He had another incarnation about 70,000 years ago. He had his last incarnation about 35,000 years ago. He works also hand in hand with Saint Germain. They both work on the violet ray. The violet ray is the seventh ray. And these rays, there's more than seven rays, but there's the primary seven rays, which also correlate with our chakras. So you have the violet ray, you have the blue ray, which is the first ray. You have the second ray is either yellow or pink. The third ray is either yellow or pink. You have the white ray, which is for ascension. You have the green ray, which is for healing, mathematics, and science, which is the fifth ray. You have the sixth ray, the ray of resurrection. This is the ray that Yeshua works with. Yeshua, Jesus works on the sixth ray. He works on it with Mary Magdalene. And then there's the seventh ray, the violet ray, which is Saint Germain. And there's also not just ascended masters, but there's archangels for each and every ray. And by the way, for me, it's real because I've had direct experience energetically, emotionally, and I've seen myself rise in consciousness and in my embodiment of virtues by working directly with these energies. And it's very easy to do, right? I have an intention of healing. I have an intention of growing my level of consciousness, and it's very, very accessible. And I say this, and as I'm saying, it's like with that comes responsibility, with our ability to access higher dimensions, to connect with ascended masters, connect with angels. It's very, very important that we have the intention, one, that we're connected to God, the source of all life. Two, that we say a prayer or we have some sort of ritual, right? At least the start of guarding our space, to setting the intention to allowing only the highest light and love and light. And so if you believe in Yeshua, if you believe in God, the Holy Spirit, like you want to call in that energy to ensure that your space is kept sacred, right? And I said it because there's light and there's dark, and and we have to be very precise and intentional about what we call into our lives. But my point is that this is where my faith is at, and I know it. And I don't say that I say it in a way of, man, it's done wonders for me, for my career, for my relationships, for my groundedness. And so these are things that I just want to be able to share with people. And yeah, I can just keep going, but I
I
might
think
stop for a
that
second.
I think that's important to have faith. Like we've talked about in past episodes, the loss of faith is so detrimental to us in so many ways that to have faith in general is so critical, because to not have faith in something beyond yourself, bigger than yourself, is like the pinnacle of isolation and the
Mm,
pinnacle of feeling the illusion of separation from the all, from the divine. It's if you're not actually, but you just feel that way, you think that way, that illusion of. And so in in my view and understanding of it, that's when you get people who do some of these incredibly heinous acts,
mm,
because they're so caught up in this illusion of separation from the all, from each other, that they think that I can do whatever, and it maybe it harms this person, but there's no greater consequences to it. Like nothing, it doesn't matter in a big way. But
mm,
when you see that we are all part of the all, that we are a piece of the divine, like you said earlier, not the entirety of, but a
mm-hmm,
teeny tiny little bitty piece of the divine, and that everybody is not only a reflection of you, but a piece of you, and we are all part of the body of God, then these little darknesses, these separations, they become malignancy, a
mm,
cancer to everything. This idea of being separate, this
mm,
idea of alone is now to me pretty, not absurd, but just wild. But I can remember when I was very much trapped in that kind of mindset, in a very dark place in my life where I felt very separated, and everything about my mind space kind of spoke to that. And that I would speak to my friends and the people I already knew, but
mm,
strangers and stuff. I had this blinders, didn't want to talk to anybody, suspicious of everyone, scared of everyone and everything. And the more that I've connected with love, with loving of myself, and of
mm,
seeing this mutual divinity between all of us, the more I like connecting with other people, with random people. Now, granted, I don't go and talk to literally everyone all the time. I still like my privacy, and like I'll be in a group of people and I'll still be quiet sometimes. I went to the dog park today and I spoke to people, but there are plenty of people that I didn't. And it wasn't any kind of judgment on them. I just wanted to be in my own space. but it's beautiful to be around people and see you're beautiful because you're a person. You're amazing because you're a person. We are connected in this. And you know what? If you trip and fall over and hurt yourself, I'm going to go help you. I don't even know your name. Doesn't matter because we're
Mm,
still connected. We're still in that. And so the way that I was asked a little while ago if I believe in reincarnation, and I do, but I don't believe in it, the one for one kind of reincarnation that at least I don't know if the way that I was brought up to understand reincarnation is an accurate way of people's faiths that are based more deeply in reincarnation. The way I was raised to believe what reincarnation is basically just a copy paste of this particular entity's soul that then goes
mm,
into another body and it's the same. What I believe in and the way I see it is that I see all of soul as one big thing, not you, your soul, my soul, his soul, her soul, all one soul. And so I describe it by if you imagine a low lying fog and then each individual individuates by that fog clustering and coming up and rising up above the fog and creates the individuation that is Jaguar, the individuation that is Jay. And we get to experience each other and see each other and
mhm.
understand ourselves by being around each other and
Yeah,
being in community with each other,
yeah.
but we're not separate from each other. We still have that lower level, low
Mhm,
lying fog connecting us. And when we disperse and back into the fog, when we transition, what comes next might have like 99% of that same amount of fog,
mhm.
but it's not never going to be 100%. It might be like
100%.
50%. It might
Yeah,
be
yeah.
45%, whatever it is, which is why I now truly believe how person A in North America and person B in Africa can both say, yeah, in a past life, I was Joan of Arc. Both right.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's so funny, man, because I have a friend who he's done past life regressions. He's done HQQT, which I think was the Dolores Cannon's version of doing past life regressions, where I remember one time he told me he was doing a session, he started speaking a whole different language, which he doesn't even know how he's speaking in this lifetime because he doesn't know that language. But he's able to tap into some past life, and he's going deeper down the multidimensional path of experiencing reality. So like with things like astral travel and deeper into mediumship and things like that, and channeling as well. And so he explained to me, he would explain these past lives in Egypt and all these different places, and he explained these past lives where maybe he was embodying more of his power than he is even now, right? And but he was saying that was a past life. It was me, but not quite me. So into the point of where it was like maybe some of the fog, but not all of the fog, right? Of the individuation that is Ross in this lifetime. And I can definitely relate to that. I mean, that what you said makes a lot of sense. And again, it's something to think about. Where people we are exploring we're exploring these ideas and truths. And my goal is to get closer and closer to the truth. So things like how I feel about ascended masters and archangels and everything, there might be truth to it. It might be the full truth, or it might be a step closer to truth. But I think that's the whole point, right? So when we're sharing these experiences, hopefully whatever it sparks in you, the listener, is something that takes you a step closer to the truth.
And so when you combine two very different modes of thinking, combine thermodynamics of nothing can be created or destroyed,
Hmm.
and then you take the hermetic principle of
Hmm.
as above, so below.
Hmm.
You can take those two principles and combine them in that if nothing can be created or destroyed in physical matter,
Hmm.
it all just changes. It transmutes, it transforms from this
Hmm.
to that. The same is going to be in soul level as well.
Hmm.
So there's no creation of soul, there's no destruction of soul. There is transfer from here to there to wherever. And this used to be something that bothered me as a kid, thinking about this souls as one individual. And then, okay, so then that individual dies. But if we're all waiting on Jesus to come back
Hmm.
and get this heaven thing kicked off, what happens to those souls in that transient? Are they in hibernation? Do
Hmm.
they get to go on up anyways, even
Hmm.
though Jesus didn't come back yet?
Hmm.
And then this wondering of, well, there weren't really that many people on the earth back then in like the
Mm.
biblical era. Because I mean, growing up, I was taught to think that the world was 4 or 5 thousand years old and like that was about it.
Yep. Yep.
And so it was like, okay, so like thinking of like populace and whatnot, the world's got like, not even a billion people on it at the time. And now we got eight. So like, where are these souls coming from? We're just like popping out new souls out of nowhere. And like,
Mm.
none of this made any sense to me.
Mm.
And it wasn't until like I continued to learn and like going on my path and through some of the things that I picked up through this journey that this kind of low level like fog of people like individuate and return but it's all pervasive and it's all pervasive. It's a pretty good one. And in everything, and it is the all
Yeah. Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about ascended masters, when you talk about archangels,
Mhm.
the same thing,
Mm.
individuate just in a different form, on a different level, at a completely different vibrational frequency. And so the archangels individuate, but their frequency is so goddamn high,
Mm.
we're not seeing them most of the time. They're just kind of there.
Mm. Interesting. No, I like that. I like that. Yeah. When you start getting into archangels and the different orders of the angels, right? The seraphim, the Elohim, the cherubim, the archangels, the angels, I think one order of the angels might be called the orders. Like there's several different orders of angels and understanding how they work and how you can connect with them. And what's been coming up for me too is how to work with the Elohim and my understanding of the Elohim. So yes, I believe there's one God, one creator of the all that is. Also believe that God created these beings, right, called the Elohim, or these high level angels that had the ability to create themselves and may have created the universes and worlds that we see. All comes from the same source. But just like we have the ability to create stuff here, we create homes or we build homes and we create, just different things here. These are beings that are able to channel more source power and create whole universes, whole worlds, not taking nothing from God. I'm saying God created creators that created just like we can create on the levels that we can create on. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, what are
Right. And it
we?
keeps going, goes down to the quantum level, right? So
Go back to the Hermetic principles when they
mhm,
talk about the universe is mental and the
mhm,
all is mind.
mhm,
Yeah. How do you create without creating something else, without dividing, without destruction? How do
mhm,
you do that?
mhm,
Mentally,
mm,
right here.
mm.
And this connection right here. Ooh, my dog just smacked his head on the table. You okay, buddy? I think he's good. But the connection of mind and heart allows us to be these creators on an infinite level. And something that
Mm,
one of my teachers one time brought to me was that it is so potent and it is so powerful, and that we are creating alongside with the all, as the Elohim, as you're referring to,
mhm,
are creating alongside with the all. Our thoughts and our worlds that we're creating are becoming real within somewhere in the infinite,
mhm, mhm,
somewhere out there.
mhm,
Because to try to ponder and try to think about how big and how vast infinite is
Whew.
will literally break your brain.
Mm,
But I love the comparison that a corpuscle, smallest, the smallest building block of us, of living creatures, it is more accurate for a corpuscle to say, I am man, than it is for a man to say, I am God, I am
mm,
the all. So
mm,
it's more accurate for something smaller than an atom to say, I am a human,
mm,
than it is for a
mhm,
human to say, I am the all. And
mm,
yet we still function in some of these same ways.
mhm,
And the way that I started thinking about it is how you can have like a computer server, the physical server, and it's running and it's doing a lot, but could use some more. And so then when you have like your phone tied into that and you allow that server to access your phone's processing center, it just creates more and it creates more and it creates more and it creates more and more power to do that. And so in some ways, I see it as us, the other beings that are out there, we're all doing this in concert. Some consciously so, most of us unconsciously so, but we're all just creating together. And things that we build that we can build physically in this world, I think is a beautiful example of us creating mentally, because where does it
Mhm,
start?
mhm.
It starts here.
As a thought,
Yeah.
percent.
So I just built myself an axe throwing target,
Mhm,
and I it had been on my mind for a little while, and then talked to somebody about it, and she gave me a good idea of where to put it, and then I was like, I would really like to have one, and so I had a free afternoon, and I decided I'm going to make this thing. And
mhm,
within 2.5 hours, I had drawn it, gone to Home Depot, brought everything back, built the thing, and was throwing axes at it.
mm,
Within 2.5 hours, that thought became reality
mm.
because I was able to put that thing in. I think there are other creatures that operate, like you were saying, on a different level and are able to manipulate things through different means than just simple pick up brick, put brick here.
What I believe when it comes to creation, right? The more we align ourselves with the will of God, the more we embody virtues, the more responsible we become, the more we're able to channel the divinity of God, channel the all, right? So the more we're aligned with the all, the more we're able to channel and create with the all, right? And there's different paths. You have the left hand path, which is the path that you see someone who rises to fame and success and wealth and, and abundance through darkness, and that's not the path that I recommend or suggest. But then you have the right hand path, which is a path that I think you and I are about and on, which is about embodying all the virtues and the kindness and the courage and the integrity and all those things to be able to align ourselves more with the will of God, to be able to create with God, with the all, and in conjunction with it all. And so I say that because I think that that left hand path that I talked about, right, is where a lot of, the dogma comes in, and the demonization comes in because of those that have misused the power of God or use it in misaligned ways, right? But there is another path, maybe a narrower path, or the path that Jesus or Yeshua had walked and many others have walked, which is a path of honor and integrity and, and honor for life and care for other people and service to others and service to the all. Right. And so I just want to point that out. And so we have the choice and we have to choose every single day to serve on that right hand path. Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that. To be vulnerable with all listeners, I recently have gone through a patch of struggling a little bit with my own walk and really walking in alignment. And I definitely got out of alignment for a little while. And there's been a few things cropping up in my life that have been showing it to me. I broke my toe, which being walking barefoot is an alignment check. I've gotten a couple parking tickets, and those kinds of things weren't happening to me for quite a while, and a lot of it I credit it to walking in alignment.
Mm.
But then as you spoke this, left-hand path, really, just like looking for like
That's more service to self,
self-glorification.
more
Yeah,
service to
service to
self.
self and like
Yeah.
self-glorification
Mm-hmm.
versus service to the all, so
Mm-hmm.
all of us, to the greater liberation of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking about that self-service path, there was this hit space that opened up in my chest, and like my throat dropped a little bit and it hit
Mm-hmm.
me in this. That was where I started leaning towards for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
That was where some of this was kind of going towards. Not
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily my, like, spiritual walk,
Mm-hmm.
but what I decided to start doing and what I've been doing. It's been more for me. It's been more for my, like, "Well, I just wanna do this because I just wanna do it," rather
Mm-hmm.
than, "Why am I doing this? Is this truly something that is in alignment for me, is good for me?" You said it, that this is something we have to choose every day. And
Yeah.
that was definitely something that I needed to hear right now of like, all right, reminder, keep choosing it every day.
100%. And I want to add on to that too, because it's like yin and yang, like within light, there's dark, within darkness, there's light. So on a right hand path, the service to others path, how I understand it is today, right? If you want to become an ascendant master, right, to give you a number or a ratio, you can ascend as long as 51% or more of your life is spent in service to others. So that means that 49% could be spent service to self. But if you're doing this path of ascension and 51% of it is in service to others, you can still ascend. Why do I say that? Because if there's a period of life where, you know what, you got to put yourself first, you got to be a little selfish. there is an allowance for that, into my understanding, right? It's hard for me to kind of A/B test that. I'm not at a point now where I can look into all my past lives, or where I'm really connected with the extended masters to the point where I can truly verify. But this is through my readings and my studies, right? So there can still be a level of service itself, but overall, the majority of your life should be spent um, in service to others. All right. So I want to say that to give ourselves grace and not be so rigid. Have to be instead, because we still have to learn how to confront our lesser or lower selves, our lesser selves, our lower selves, and integrate that in with our higher self. And so sometimes for myself, what comes up is my selfish side does come up. The side of myself that does want to be selfish, that does want to maybe hoard, that does want to cut corners. I still have to deal with those parts of myself. And the more I readily face that, the less that I judge that, the less that I embrace that and have compassion for it, then the quicker I can get back to service of others. But if I try to deny the fact that there's a part of me that is still service itself, then it actually prolongs the journey back to being of service to others.
I never heard that 49-51%.
Yeah, I got that from a book. I think it's Elizabeth Clare Roberts, Elizabeth Clare Prophet. I think she's no longer. I think she's transitioned, all right, to the other side. But she and her husband wrote a bunch of channeled books that explained what it means to ascend. That talked about a lot of different ascended masters, and that talked about the right hand path versus the left hand path, and how we can raise our consciousness on a daily basis. So she talks about a lot of those things. She's one of my teachers that I've learned about just through reading her material.
Beautiful. I guess there is a little tagline that I would want to put on it, is that this, and this is my understanding, so please correct me if you feel that I'm wrong in this.
Sure.
This service to self versus service to others, I feel that there's a misunderstanding that I've run into a lot, where people take service to others as self-sacrifice,
Mm,
and that service to self is something that's just purely evil and selfish.
mm-hmm,
Whereas if you're in service to others at the detriment and the cost of yourself, you're not truly in aligned service to anybody, because you're not being able to show up 100%.
mm,
Whereas when you give yourself what you need, and then in order to
mm-hmm,
be able to show up in service, then you're able to fully show up. Because I feel that I've met many people in service to others, but who are destroying themselves in so many ways.
100%.
Either they're in debt, they're unhealthy, whatever it may be. Because I've been wondering, like, okay, how do you do this without begging or without this? And I guess a piece of it, maybe this is where I'm need to learn and expand. Maybe because a teaching of Jesus just popped into my
Mm-hmm,
head, that how like it is easier for a rich man to have a camel, or sorry, it's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Because he was
mm,
teaching about how to give away your possessions and walk away from them, because God, the all, will provide you with everything, just as he does to birds of the air, the lilies of the field. They do not ask and want for anything. So maybe that's something that I have a misunderstanding in,
mm.
though it is something that Kevin teaches about, that I do believe is right, that if you don't take care of yourself first, that if you're serving out of the detriment of you and at the
Out of
cost of
lack.
yourself, that's not, yeah, that's not love, that's lack.
Yeah, yeah. I love that, man. So in a sense, there is say service itself to be in service to others, and that's the thing too. One of the biggest things with Jesus's or Yeshua's teachings, or any religious or spiritual text, is the misinterpretation of that text. So I say that because anything that we're saying to you, for example, before I even go there, like with Christianity, right? When Christianity was spread through rape and killing and forcing people, I don't think that's what Jesus meant. I don't think Jesus meant to go.
Constantine.
And so it's super important that as you're taking in information around these spiritual ideas, or any idea at all, that you're able to sit with it, meditate on it, and really understand it for the essence of what it is, and use it in the way in which it was designed to be used and utilized.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up and bringing that in. That was something that I talked about in one of my encouragements
Hmm.
months back, about how, please check everything, verify things. If you can check it like physically with Google or with a book, Cool, great. But also check it within yourself. Run
Mhm.
it through your own heart and like through your bullshit meter.
Mhm.
Things that we say, things that you read and hear from other
Any spiritual teacher, anyone,
any spiritual
any
teacher.
person of authority, person in government.
Yeah. And that's why like it's important to me to talk about how we are all a piece of the divine. We are all a piece
Yep.
of
Yep.
this. And it's something that Kevin talks about, that we are all power. That power is what we are. It's not something that somebody gives us or anything. That there aren't positions of power. That there are positions of authority where you might have more responsibility. But power is who we are, and
Mhm.
our connection to the divine is direct. It's not run through some arbiter
Mhm.
who is the leader of a church. It's
Mhm.
not run through some arbiter who's the leader of some grand scale of stuff, that there's only one dude at the very top who actually talks to God.
Mhm.
It's a direct connection. And so
Percent.
run it through your heart, everything that we're saying.
The illusions start to fall away when we all solidify our connection with God. This illusion that only, one person, that only a pastor can, or only a leader of government can, or only this, like that is what helps to perpetuate illusion. We have to recognize that direct connection to God within ourselves, and slowly or quickly, the illusions fall away. And it's happening now. You can look at what's going on in the world and how crazy it is with the war, and with Israel and Iran, and Palestine and Ukraine and Russia, and all these different things that are happening. You can look at it as the chaotic side of that, but then I also see all the people that are waking up, the people that are starting or continuing on their spiritual path, the people that are finding success and wealth and abundance during this time, because for the new world, for the golden age to come, things do have to the structures that were in place do have to fall, right? I don't view the potential recession or whatever, some of the chaos, I don't view that as a bad thing. I view it more neutrally, right? And we have the choice of where it goes. Things are being exposed. And
There's
what
something to
what are we
plug
gonna do with
about.
that information?
There's something I want to plug about chaos. I hate that term.
Yep.
I think it's absolute bullshit.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to say this. I say that, and I am intending to get like a friendship tattoo with my friend that says "Embrace the chaos."
Mm,
And when she first mentioned it, I was like, I don't know. Then as I continued to think about it, it clicked something in my mind about like where I feel like chaos, what chaos is. And to me, it is just simply the misunderstood, the not yet understood, or that what we cannot understand. So why do the age old question, why do bad things happen to good people? Why do kids die of cancer? Why do these horrible things happen to seemingly, good people and whatnot? Well, we might not know. It might feel like chaos because we do not understand it, but I don't know what kind of soul agreement that baby had made with the person who learned how to be a greater person because they had to experience that. I don't know those things. None of us can, likely until we reunify with the all.
I wanna say this. If you're in a space where things are happening to you that seem chaotic, or you don't know why this is happening to you or that is happening to you, my current belief on it is that there is some law of the universe, divine law, universal law, natural law, that you may not be aware of, that you are violating, and that is why that thing is happening. And once you understand universal laws on a deeper level, hermetic principles, all these things. For example, the law of polarity, the law of gender, as above, so below. And this stuff is out there, right? It's available to read, for access, to learn about. As you understand and embody these things, the law of cause and effect, especially, then you start to understand why things may or may not be happening. And so as you can align yourself with these laws, then you start to be in more command of yourself and what's around you, but from the inside out. And so that's why it's so important to understand laws of the universe, these other dimensions, the fact that angels are always there to support us, the ascendant masters, right? Because all of this, all of this has a level of effect. And the more we understand it, the more we can be a part of the cause.
Utilizing those laws rather than being used by the laws.
And for the highest good of all, I should add too.
Yeah. Is there anything else you feel that you wanted to add in?
I think we're good, bro.
Yeah. It's a long and good episode.
Thanks for tuning in to Building Consciousness with Jaguar and Jay, where we explore spiritual concepts and aim to break them down in a practical way for everyday use. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on future content. If you have thoughts or questions, drop a comment below or connect with us on Instagram, jdoss545 and build_with_Jaguar. We love to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and remember, we are the authors of our own reality. This is Jaguar and Jay, signing off.